Making music is all about being spontaneous and finding inspiration. But have you ever thought about all the brain power and all the calculations that go behind making that catchy tune just right? Self-confessed math nerd and Fat Labs producer Vikas Kohli stopped by the Omni studios for a rather intellectual chat about the creative arts. How did you get into music? How did it start?
It all began when my brother came home, and I was in grade school, and he came home with a Dead Milkman audio cassette. And I, of course, never heard music like that before, because growing up, I watched all the Amitabh Bachchan films.
Yeah.
You don't hear stuff like the Dead Milkman in those films.
Right.
So when I put those two things together, sort of blew my mind. And
yeah.
I don't know, I just instantly got a fascination with music of all sorts, and all sorts of crazy, crazy music. Like,
yeah, and you're experimenting to see what you like, right? You're trying to find a sound that vibes with you.
And I'm trying to piss off my teachers and parents too, right?
Right, of course. I mean, why wouldn't you? That's why we all do music. That's why we do this. Yeah. So, but okay. So coming back to parents, and I mean, obviously, we have South Asian parents, and
you too.
I do. Isn't that weird? So, but yeah, there's a lot of emphasis on like education and studying, and you're a self-professed math nerd yourself, and you have various degrees. So how do you reconcile that with now being this cool like music producer?
Yeah, I always find it. Well, first of all, I don't think I'm cool. I'm still a nerd, right? But I do find it interesting that people have a hard time wrapping their head around that, because it's just like, well, I like lots of things.
Yeah.
Just because I like math doesn't mean I can't like rock and roll. My education was, I enjoyed all that, and I thought it was good for me. So kids, stay in school. But it wasn't all of me.
Yes.
So at one point I thought, well, now I've done all that side.
Yeah.
Let me take care of these other interests that I had. Whatever you do, you find a way to relate it back to what you're doing now.
Yes.
Right? So, I'm not sure what your background education-wise, but I'm sure whatever it was somehow comes into what you're doing right now.
Yeah. Well, I majored in English literature, just so everybody knows.
And you're speaking English right now.
And I'm speaking English right now, and I write for the show, and so, yeah, you're right. You somehow, I think you find a way to relate your intellectual interests with your creative interests, right?
Right. I think there's something else that people may not appreciate about math, and also don't realize that it's part of music, is this idea of elegance and symmetry.
Yeah.
And in math, that's a huge part of really truly understanding the depth of a problem, if you can find an elegant solution. And music, I think, is the same way. You listen to a great pop song.
Yeah.
People sort of go, oh, pop song, simple pop song. But there's lots of complexity in that pop song. But it doesn't seem confusing because it's so beautifully put together. It's so elegantly put together. There's so much symmetry in it that the chorus comes and everyone sings along.
You work with artists like Mika, and lots of individual artists. You produce songs and albums for them, but you also do musical scores for films.
Right.
And very often you use those artists in your films.
Right.
So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, when I'm doing the music for film, you're trying to bring out some emotive content in the film. So I'll think, what's the right singer for this, right? And the only way for me to know who's the right singer is for me to really understand the artist. If I've worked with someone before, I understand not just what they're doing from their own musical career, but what their internal innate skills are.
Yeah.
And so I can pull them into that film project.